Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
11:04 on a Tuesday with The Lock Shop. Thank you very much for being here. Dusty and Huss with you. If you're watching over on YouTube, hammer a thumbs up for us. A sub to the channel as we close in on 9,500 subs over there. And, of course, if you're listening on TuneIn or iHeart or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, feel free to fire us a text at 780-218-9999. Did Maddie say Trey Ford 72 times? Was that the number? People in the nasty chat. So Eric played a game. He was on the hangout today with Maddie and Tommy. Every time someone mentioned Trey Ford, he had a drink. And people are saying that they said Trey Ford 72 times.
It's a good thing Eric walked to work.
Yeah, he did walk to work today. So it actually worked out well. He had a good time. I said, oh, is your empty glass there? He goes, this is my fourth one. I was like, oh, my God. So, I mean, the Edmonton sports community just keeps providing us with content, Huss. It's an amazing time.
Well, between the Elks and between everyone watching Eric stumbling and bumbling his way home after the show and the warm-up today, we're going to definitely have your fill. Yeah, man. I mean, right after we got off the air yesterday, Jones taking the bullet. And I knew you guys went live. Maddie had some great content there, so a shout-out to you guys for jumping right on it.
Well, don't shout out me. I woke up. I had a nap. I went to sleep like just before the news broke. Woke up after the boys were already on the air for like 45 minutes. I look at my phone. I had 76 missed texts. I was like, what the hell is going down right now? And then I look and the guys are already live. I was like, oh, this is great. Like everybody's taking care of everything. It's amazing. It was good content and great reaction from everybody. So it was a lot of fun yesterday.
So yeah. let me ask you this. I mean, you're very close to the league, close to the team. I mean, when you woke up and, got the cobwebs out, realized why you had 76 texts.
Yeah.
What was your immediate reaction to the fact that Chris Jones was no longer in charge of the Elks?
I mean, earlier than I thought it would happen just because of the ownership situation. Like we said yesterday on the show, in the morning on the Nielson show, that yesterday morning, if this was a team that had proper ownership in place, he would probably be fired today. But they didn't. They still fired him, and they made it clear after that they did go to the incoming ownership and make sure they were cool with having to pay Chris Jones out for the next 12 months. They gave him the green light for that. They decided to fire him in an attempt to save the season, with Jarious Jackson being both OC and head coach. So it's 100% completely justified. I said it on our show this morning. I said, when was the last time a football coach got to be 8-33? And still not be fired? Like, usually you don't get the 8-33 run. Usually, I mean, if you would have been fired at the end of last season if they didn't win half their games down the stretch. So it was coming. I just was a little surprised that they did it prior to the new owner. But if the new owner said that's cool, we'll cover it, then you had to pull the trigger on it.
What is interesting is what happens from here with the Elks. Like, how is anything different? I mean, can their defense improve? Which is hilarious because, I mean, that was what, as we've talked about extensively, that was Jones's calling card.
Not here, not this next time.
Being a head coach,
Yeah.
It's like, this is the guy that puts together championship-level defenses. It couldn't have been further from the truth in Edmonton. Like, the offense has been good, and I know you guys are talking about Trey Ford a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, like, to me, like, is there an argument to start him over MBT considering the way the Elks offense has been this year? I don't see one.
I don't see them getting there now. I do think you'll see him on the field a little bit come Friday night. Mix him in for a play here or there. He's a phenomenal athlete. We all know that. But, we had a TSN, CFL and TSN conference call today, and obviously this whole conversation came up, and the first thing I pointed out was the Elks defense is atrocious. Like, they allowed Drew Brown, who wasn't even sure if he's going to play earlier in the week, gash them for 480 yards. Like, I don't care who's at quarterback. I mean, that's a different situation. So it's a weird spot where they don't necessarily have a quarterback issue, but people are trying to make a case that a quarterback change may help them. I don't know how many different teams have ever found themselves in that spot, but I also know how many other teams have ever lost 3 straight games on walk-off field goals. Like, it's This is a 1 of 1 here in Edmonton right now, Huss.
I mean, and the great thing about the CFL for the most part this year is these games have all been so close.
Oh, yeah.
And like that was what was so weird about the Bombers start at 0-4. I mean, listen, they lost by a significant margin to Montreal in the first week, but those next 3 losses, I mean, you've got the ball on the goal line against Ottawa. You don't get it in. You are in overtime with Calgary. I mean, like these games were close. And even the BC game was a 2-point game. I don't really consider it as close because they just went into
They could have punched more in at the end,
yeah. At the end if they wanted to. But still, I mean, it was a single digit loss. But here's the thing. I mean, you look at teams like Hamilton, you look at teams like Winnipeg in the first month of the season, and Edmonton. And they have not been getting humiliated or embarrassed in these games. They've been in all of them, but the bad teams just find ways to lose. Hamilton has been that way so far this season, and there's no better example of it than Edmonton. I mean, they could have easily been 3-1, maybe even 4-0 through those first 4 games, and yet here they are at 0-5. So it really is little things that are the difference between winning and losing. And I went on with Hammer yesterday talking about Sergio Castillo here in Winnipeg and how I would make the argument that the kicker has been the MOP for the team throughout the first 6 weeks. This is the thing. If you're playing in these games where it's a razor thin margin, it'll be a turnover. It'll be a missed field goal. It'll be a bad player here that really is the difference between winning and losing. And I mean, the way the Elks have found ways to lose has been incredible. Blowing fourth quarter leads. I mean, this business with the kickoff out of bounds, one play. I mean, and the clock management that led into that to leave the time on the clock as well was sketchy. So I really do think that the Elks have the talent in that building to be a competitive team. I mean, win the Grey Cup, no, but they could be a playoff team. I'm not sure that they haven't dug themselves such a big hole that it'll be very problematic to get out of. Although they do still have the head-to-head matchups against the Bombers, against Calgary. So there is still a lot of
That's
time
a good
left.
point. That's a real good point. You're right. They're almost a third of the way through the season, but the teams they're chasing, they still play.
Yeah. So, I mean, if things completely turn around, we could be talking about the Elks in the mix later on, but I'm afraid, and I think everyone in that building just thought, listen, guys, we are staring another lost season in the face. We cannot afford to do this. We can't afford to pay Chris Jones not to coach either, but it's the best of a bad situation, and they move forward and hopefully get some different results starting next week.
So Jarious Jackson in his interim head coach, Geroy Simon takes over as interim GM. Huss, outside of this market, would you still view the head coach and general manager positions in Edmonton as coveted spots, considering the legacy of the franchise having been tarnished for the last 5 to 7 years?
Yes, I would.
Yeah.
And I will put the caveat in because I'll be honest, I haven't paid a lot of attention as to what's happening with the club and who the new ownership is going to be. But if they get quality ownership in there that's committed,
I think it's trending in that direction. Let's just say that.
If they do that, then I think it becomes a really good job. Because let's face it, you're coming in at a point where the bar is so low. And like, I don't think that there's ever been a case in Elks history, including the Eskimos history, where this team has been so bad for so long. So, it's always good to come in and be able to guide the guy that can bring it on the upwards. And listen, if there's new owners, a new way of doing things, I mean, I think that next chapter in the Elks history is actually a pretty exciting one. But again, it does come with a lot of pressure too, because they got to win football games. They've got to re-engage with the community and get people on board with believing in where they're going. And Chris Jones had a number of opportunities to do that, and they fell flat pretty much each and every time. So I do think it's a coveted job. I mean, I think it's still a great sports market. They do have a really good history of supporting that team. I think the potential is all there. They just got to get things moving in the right direction. And I really thought this was going to be the year. Like, I'm stunned that we're having this conversation right now after week 6 and the Elks have not.
They've lost 5 games by a combined average of like 3.9 points per game.
Yeah.
It's not like they're getting blown out. Like they are, and they played good teams to start the year, right? Like they lost to the best teams in the league, and they've hung around. They went into BC, lost by 3, and actually held the Lions to 24 points, which is damn near a miracle at this stage of the season with that BC Lions offense. So,
and listen, for those of us in the lock shop, I mean, they've been a covering machine up
as
until
dogs,
this week when they were finally a favorite, and then didn't win. So who do they have next?
Well, they get Ottawa again, right? They play them again.
Right.
So we did our guesses on the lines yesterday. CFL lines are now posted. So let's take a look at how close we were or weren't. You nailed one of them well done, sir. Anyway, Edmonton, Ottawa. Ottawa, we thought maybe 3.5. They are 3-point favorites at home there. We pretty much nailed the Bombers, Riders. Bombers are 2-point road favorites. On that front.
2-point road favorites.
What, did we say the Riders would be 2-point home favorites?
Yeah.
Okay, so we missed that one by 4 points. Bombers are 2-point road favorites.
Wow.
Yeah. That's a Shea Paterson thing. It has to be. I mean,
well, for sure.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it. I was just the way they won with Shea Paterson against the Argos.
That's right. We did say Riders -2 because I said yesterday when we laid that out, I said, but do you think by kickoff, if it opens at -2, it's a pick 'em by kickoff?
Yeah,
and instead it's open -2 on the other side. So, and the Bombers are -139 on the money line. Argos and Ticats, I think you nailed this one. Did you say 4.5 yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay, 4.5. Well done, sir. I thought it might be closer to 3. That comes in. Argos on the road, 4.5-point favorites against the Ticats. And then the BC Lions, which we thought might be around 6.5. It's actually at 4.5. The Lions are 4.5 favorites on the road in Calgary.
Ooh, I like BC right now. I really like BC right now on that. It's always a great exercise to do it, to handicap the game.
It really is. Yeah.
Yourself, and then see what the lines are. So, yeah, I mean, listen, I just think BC is in a class above the Calgary Stampeders. And Calgary's had a couple tough losses lately. BC, I mean, to me, BC is the team to beat. Hamilton, Toronto, that's basically what I thought. I'm really interested to see what Hamilton is, going into this game, coming out of their bye. They were so bad against BC 2 weeks ago, Dusty. I mean, that was like those other games, it was very similar to the Elks. They found ways to lose.
Yeah.
It was really close. That game was embarrassing on so many levels. Now, again, you're playing against a really, really good football team in BC that was, running, but they had nothing for them. So you give Milanovic an extra week to prepare. But at the same time, the Argos seem to be back on the rise after those back-to-back losses. So, I mean, I think this line is right in and around where it is. This is going to be a bit of a tougher pick because it's a great rivalry game. This is one of those games that often you can throw the records out. It's hard to throw an 0 record out, but anyways, that's kind of where I thought that line would be. And as far as the Bombers go, I mean, I think people have been waiting. Well, we saw in the first week of the season, after the Bombers got pumped pretty good by the Alouettes in the week number 1 of the season, Kenny Lawler gets hurt. Then they go into Ottawa as 8-point favorites on the road. I mean, the Bombers are such big numbers, but people have just been used to them being so good for so many seasons that it's like it takes a number of losses before it really reflects in the lines or in people's collective thinking about it. And now that they've won 2 games in a row, it seems like people have just completely forgot about the first month of the season, and they're treating the Bombers as the Bombers at the end of last season, the team that's won the West does so far. So I'm a little surprised, though, that they open as 2-point favorites right out of the gate. But again, I think the bookies are saying the same thing that a lot of other people are that casually watch the league. Well, this is the Bombers, right? They won a couple in a row. They just put up 43 points or 41 points, whatever it was. And Saskatchewan has a backup quarterback playing right now. So it'll be interesting to see if that moves at all. Although I've been stunned by the line movement with the Bombers the last few weeks, as we talked about. I mean, that was a 3.5 line that closed at 6.5 last week, despite a bunch of injuries and a bunch of things happening around Winnipeg. So I don't think this, I would not, especially considering what our original projection was on the line, I wouldn't think it goes more in the Bombers' favor, but I've been surprised at how the lines all year long have increased in the Bombers' favor, even while they were losing the first 4 games of the year. So that'll be one to keep our eyes on as we get closer to Thursday to make our picks.
Two more things I want to hit on the CFL. We got a text about Chris Jones that we'll get to. You can text us if you're listening on TuneIn or iHeart or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Please just text the link to EST to all your buddies, and they can hop on for the ride as well. Yes, it is a tell a friend program. Word of mouth always works. But you can text us at 780-218-9999. Huss, just quickly on the Bombers there, and I don't know if we talked about this yesterday. I don't think we did. Talked about it somewhere yesterday, but I don't think it was you on this show. Bombers offensively exploded last week. Strevler only had 3 touches in that game for 7 yards. And earlier in the season, it was 7 carries, 6 carries, 10 carries, 6 carries. And then obviously when Zach was hurt, 13 carries, 79 yards. I thought earlier in the season, I didn't like some of the spots that they brought him in at when the offense kind of got going. And then it's like 2nd and 6 and Strevler came in, and you're relying a little bit less on Brady Oliveira in some of those situations. Brady's been great the last couple of weeks. I don't know. Do you only need 3 or 4 carries for Strevler, or do you want to see him mixed in 8, 9, 10 times a game? Because the offense looked better when he kind of just did his short yardage stuff and that was it.
Yeah. Well, okay, here's the thing. They had to get Zach Collaros and the Bomber offense rolling, especially in that game where their defense was getting torched at times by the Stamps. Like, everyone loves Strevler around here. I don't see a Strevler offense putting up 40 points in a game.
No.
Like, the game plan of a Strevler game is to win 23-20 and win the time of possession 36.
And they did that once, right? They had that game.
That's exactly what they did before. But listen, if you want to beat BC, I mean, you're not going to do it putting up 20 points. And listen, Zach has been, the guy here for a long time, and he didn't look himself for the first little bit. And the bottom line is the other part of it is they had to find a way to involve more of these other receivers that didn't have the history with Zach Collaros and get that going. And they did it in spades with Ontario Wilson. I do think that the 3 carries for Strevler is an anomaly. I think moving forward, you'll probably see it in and around the 6 to 7 range. And depending on the game and how it is playing, how it's being played, I wouldn't be surprised if he actually gets in every now and then for a drive or 2, throws a couple passes, hands off to Brady. But Zach Collaros is going to be the guy that will eventually get them to where they want to be if they're going to get there. So it was absolutely crucial that the offense as a whole had a breakout game. Zach looked more like the guy that, was in the MOP conversation last year. And again, as we touched on yesterday, I mean, the biggest takeaway is that Zach's got another guy now that he can throw to,
that
he's confident in. And it wasn't just a guy that was an option. It was a guy that he threw to 16 times in a game. So do I think that they'll have, and one other thing I should say, I still do believe that Buck Pierce is cooking up packages and looks that have both Strevler and Collaros on the field.
Feed them to me on Friday night while I'm calling that game. Let's go.
You know what? And when they bring that stuff out, I guess we'll see. Like, I don't know whether it's sort of in case of emergency break glass stuff that they want to keep as long as they can without showing their hand to the rest of the league. But at some point, that's going to happen. And I wouldn't even be surprised if we see Strevler running some routes at some point. There's a lot of possibilities of this Bomber offense with both of those guys in. And it's not a style. It's not something we've really seen in the CFL before. But Strevler is such a unicorn that the sooner the better, I think, for those of us that just want to be, entertained and watch the games, and obviously for you calling it. But the first operation for the Bombers was to get the offense humming, have a big game from their quarterback, get some confidence in the other receivers, not named Wolotarski or Dembski. They got that done in a big way last week. And listen, the offensive line continues to step up as well. They got into that old bully ball right at the end of the game where, okay, we've got the football. Guess what? You're not getting it back. Brady, here you go. And 2 big back-to-back triple-digit games for Oliveira, also big for the Bombers. This game on Friday night is going to be a lot of fun. I cannot wait for it. Did you say you're doing the Sass game and then the Calgary game?
Yeah, I got 2 big ones in the West this week, so I'm pretty excited for the week. So that should be pretty good. I'm
just
forward
pumped
to it.
that we got a double. I love the Friday double headers. I love the best. Remus and I were talking about this yesterday. His favorite double headers are the Saturday, where the late game is in BC. And we've got the 9 o'clock start.
Oh yeah,
so you kind of go 6 to 9.
Yes.
But I'm fully here for Friday night, starting it off with the Elks and Red Blacks, and then getting ready for what's at our time, an 8:30 start in Winnipeg for the Bombers Riders.
That's right, 7:30.
What a huge game this is, just outside of betting or anything like that. I mean, with 3 games head-to-head between these teams this year, I mean, more often than not, if both teams are pretty good, you're going to have a split in the Labor Day game and the Banjo Bowl, which means this game
huge
could very well be the difference. We've never talked so much about tiebreakers in the first 6 weeks of the season before.
Well, especially not for the Bombers recently, right? So,
well, definitely,
yeah.
Around, but just, I mean, the coach is thinking about that, the 2-point convert in the game on Friday, knowing that it would give the Bombers a point up in the season series. It's funny that we're talking about that this early, but tell you what, great games this week. I mean, I don't know, what is the game of the week right now? Probably Winnipeg, Saskatchewan.
I would say, yeah, I would go Bombers Riders. I mean, it's a little bit of a lame answer because you could always say Bombers Riders regardless of the situation. But Hamilton's 0-5. It's a big game for them, but that's not like, oh my goodness, gotta.
There's a winless team in the 2 games involving the East. BC Calgary always will be fun. You're definitely getting the 2 best games this week.
I think I got 2 pretty good games this week. So very excited for that. Hey, one quick text on the Chris Jones thing. And if you're listening, you can fire us a text at 780-218-9999. By the way, Tyler in Terwilliger texts in and goes, Lions, Elks, Bombers, and Argos all to cover. Comes out around plus 1,100, and I'm on it. So I love that. Early in the week, laying out the 4-game parlay on the spread. I love it. Tyler Terwilliger, keep her rolling, buddy.
He had the Argos?
Yeah, he's got Argos, Bombers, Elks, Lions to cover, all of them, 11-1.
Well, if you want the Tyler Terwilliger parlay, you throw those in. It's plus 1196, so just about 12-1.
Okay.
But then, if you want to use your 20% multiplier,
hello.
It takes, I mean, using the 20% multiplier on one of those parlays really jacks it up.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just looking at this. I just put this in. If you did a $10 bet on that, the return would have been 129.56. You add in the 20% multiplier, it's an extra $23.91, and it takes it up to $153.47 on a $10 bet coming back. So I will admit I have used the boost a couple times on just a bigger parlay at the start of the week. Fun way to do it, and it can be quite lucrative if you actually cash it.
This text comes in from Good Time Charlie at 780-218-9999. Says, do you guys think Jones runs the clock out and goes for 2 points for the win if he knew he's going to be fired the next day with a loss? Like, if he's feeling it and he's like, man, if we don't win here, I mean, he should have probably already kind of thought that. But Huss, if he knows, if somebody told him before, hey, you don't win, you're done here. Do you think if he's in that situation, he's going for 2 in that spot? Gotta, right?
Well, Well, I mean, listen, I think he still thought they were going to overtime.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they were playing to lose the game just because of the fact that they didn't run the clock down and they couldn't execute a simple, normal kickoff. They ended up giving the Ottawa Red Blacks the time to win it. But I mean, no, they thought that they were going to OT.
But if they said, "Hey, you're fired tomorrow if we don't win," and you've got a shot from the 2-yard line or whatever it is to win the ball game, I think you're saying, "Okay, let's go for it." Hit Curly Gittins on a pick across the middle or something like.
Well, you know what is hilarious about this? It still wouldn't have mattered because they gave up a field goal. They would have lost by 2 instead of losing by 3.
Well, if they could have ran the clock down, though.
Why they didn't do that anyway?
Well, they should have done that anyway. Yeah, that was just a botch play anyway. Yeah.
Like, what the hell are you doing giving them 8 seconds as opposed to 1?
Yeah, you could have waited on it. Just poor management, man. Poor clock management for sure. Hey,
guess what?
Yeah.
That's how you get fired.
Yeah, I guess that's exactly what happens. Hey, before, so obviously like last year with NFL, we let you go early, and I do kind of that lock shot, that fantasy football 5. I think we just incorporate more fantasy football into the lock shop come fantasy football season, right?
100%.
So let me just lay this out here for you. I'm doing that Scott Fishbowl draft, Superflex draft.
Yep.
I think I've now drafted like 15 players. So let me give you, this is a Superflex league. This is where I'm at right now. And can I organize this by position? Yes, I can. Here we go. So I've got, Superflex, you like to have a third quarterback just because of buys and stuff. Joe Burrow, Derek Carr, Dak Prescott will be my 3 quarterbacks. So I got Dak and Joe, and then Carr will be my extra body. Chase Brown, Nick Chubb. Did you see Nick Chubb the other day? Squatting like 580 or whatever. I got Nick Chubb late. Because of the injury, obviously. You got to see where he comes. But Chase Brown, Nick Chubb, Rico Dowdle, Alvin Kamara, Rashad White. And then Amari Cooper, Christian Kirk, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Calvin Ridley. And I kind of punted tight end here. So I'm hoping I'll probably draft another one and just sort of hope from week to week I can get one. But I got Luke Musgrave in Green Bay, which I like the Green Bay offense with Jordan Love.
Yeah, second year player.
Yeah, and then I got Cade Auden down in Tampa as my other tight end for now. So I'm not necessarily in love with this team, but I don't hate this team either. What are your thoughts?
Who are your quarterbacks?
Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott, and then Derek Carr.
And what's the rules of this?
It's super flex.
By the way?
So you start 2 quarterbacks.
Oh, so you start 2.
Yeah.
So you got Burrow and Dak?
Yeah, they're going to play every single week for me.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah, like I listened to a podcast yesterday. They had quarterback tiers. There was 4 quarterbacks in the top tier, and then there was 4 quarterbacks in the second tier, and both Dak and Joe were in the second tier. So you can make a case I got 2 top 8 quarterbacks in the Superflex League, which I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, quarterback is so important. I mean, you want guys that'll play, you want guys that'll be productive, and yeah, you can lean on them. I do like the Superflex. I'd never really been in a Superflex until last year, and now I'm here for it. But yeah, you know what? As we get into August, Dusty, I mean, I almost think that we need to take whether it's 20 minutes a show or whatever, and just kick around some particular fantasy football topics.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Discussions on particular players, rankings, debate.
This is the place for it.
This is the best. You don't have to go to commercial breaks or anything like that.
This is it.
Hey, while we're talking about this, I am on the verge right now of downloading College Football 25.
Oh,
EA.
You're going to be gaming today after Winnipeg Sports Talk, eh?
Well, yeah, I guess. See, I thought it wasn't coming out till later on this week, but I guess if you get the deluxe edition, you can get in on it 3 days early. And I just can't handle all these things I'm seeing online of everyone trying this game so far. I do need to figure out who my team is going to be, though.
Oh, geez, what are you going to do?
There's like 300 teams.
Now, are there?
Like,
do we get player names now, or is it like the old college games where you just got numbers?
I don't know.
I'm wondering with like nil deals now and stuff. I wonder if you can actually have the player names in there.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they certainly have that. I mean, like there's 3 of the top players that are on the cover of the game. I mean, and listen, all of that has been settled because before, even though the player names weren't in the games, I mean, they'd have the numbers, they would
their
rate the
likeness.
players as they were. And I think that was part of the reason why the game got mothballed for 11 years, is because the back and forth is with the NCAA as to whether they were going to get sued for using players' name, image, and likeness. So I'm not sure. Are you an Xbox or PlayStation?
I'm an Xbox guy. I got like the most.
The new one?
I got like the big black square box.
Well, just the what is it? The Xbox Series X?
Yeah. That's the one I have. Yeah.
Excellent.
I got it. Treated myself, I think, for either Christmas or my birthday a couple years ago, like right when it came out. I've played it like 6 times. I have no time. Like, the odd time I'll
change.
Yeah, I sit down like I got the whole F1 setup, right? So I got the car and everything. Like I got the seat. I can sit in with the steering wheel and play F1. And then I do get hooked on FIFA sometimes just because of the player recruitment and roster management and stuff like that. And I'm assuming this college football game will be pretty close to the same. And actually, you know, to Gazzola, we were talking about it. We were talking a lot of CFL talk on the show this morning, which I love. But we were talking about that video game. Was it Maximum Football? You see there, you remember that guy tried to sort of start that game for a while? Doug Flutie hopped on board.
Yes.
So Tommy was showing me today that like that was bought by a bigger company. And now they're working on putting it together properly. And they're going to roll it out, and you should have the option to do Canadian football in that game, which will be quite something.
I had the guy. This is a few years ago before we made the switch over here. But back
was that like that? Was that the Hackowich guy or whatever? What was his name? Was that the guy?
I can't. No, I don't think
Okay.
so. No. But this is the guy that made the game, and he sent me a copy of the game, and we had him on. We talked about it, and there was a lot of really good things. In a lot of ways, that game, you were able to customize football,
like
so
field size and everything.
Exactly. Just the gameplay just wasn't at the level that we're used to from the EA games. But you do bring up Nelson Hackowich.
Yes, that's the name.
And Nelson Hackowich tweeted out last week, and I've already sent this to Remus saying, get ready for this and make sure we're following it on top of it. Of course, a new football game is coming out. And of course, I'm going to create the CFL teams in it. Keep it locked here as I release player ratings, uniforms, and stadiums. So
that's got to be it.
So yeah, I mean, I think these are just going to be like mods.
Yeah, well, but you got to be able to like just download that and you go from there, right? Like you don't want to have to do it all yourself. Like
no, exactly. Like I have a feeling that they'll be. Listen, these computer guys are going to figure it out for us. And
come on, computer guys.
Okay,
I need somebody email me one day and just say, here it is. Here's the CFL video game. And if you need somebody to call it, I've got experience calling CFL and I've got experience doing play-by-play over a video game. So let's make it happen. Let's go.
You know what we need to do? Okay, listen, you may need to make a purchase. Does LTE have Xbox?
I don't know. I think he has an older version of Xbox. I'm not sure.
Well, listen, we're going to need to get the new one for LTE. Just get him an Xbox S or make it an EST copy and you can have it there. And we need to do a stream, Bombers versus Riders, around maybe the week of the Labor Day game.
Oh my God.
Or the week in between the Labor Day game and the Banjo Bowl. I'm the Bombers, he's the Riders, and you will be calling the game on the stream.
You had me at you will be calling. I'm in.
It's one of listen, this is an idea that has been a long time coming. So LTE, the challenge has been thrown down. You're going to need to get your hands on that game, work through it for a couple months, and then the week of, so I guess it'll be in between Labor Day and the Banjo Bowl. We will play the game. Who knows? We may have to do a home and home. It's going to be that much fun. Maybe we do it in Regina the week leading into the Labor Day game, and then the rematch at Princess Auto Stadium on the way back. All I know is that would be a heck of a lot of fun. WST viewers would love it. EST viewers would love it. And the added bonus of having the voice of the CFL calling our stream.
Oh, God.
would be that much more
It'd be
fun.
amazing. What is happening's all over the place. I think that'd be it. He's stuck. He's stuck on the sideline. He can't move.
Hey, just finishing up this CFL talk.
Yeah.
Let's just quickly update these Grey Cup odds.
Oh, yeah. What do we got now?
BC Lions are the favorite right now at plus 225.
Oh, wow.
The Montreal Alouettes are plus 250. I mean, it looks like a collision course between BC and Montreal right now. The Argos, with their win last week against the Alouettes, move up to 5-1, and it does take Montreal out of the number one spot. And I see the Bombers' number has gotten smaller as well. And it's been wild. The Bombers opened up this year, if you recall, at plus 225, plus 240.
Yeah, like right around where the Lions are now.
And then it was 5-1 was the next team. Obviously, they fell back with their 0-4 start. They were plus 650 last week after their first win of the season. They are now at plus 550 right now. The Riders are plus 575, which is interesting when you look at the records of the two teams. But, I mean, it just makes it that much more interesting, this game coming up this weekend. Ottawa's 15-1. Calgary is 22-1. Ticats and Elks, 100-1. And let's not forget, 2011, BC Lions, 0-5. Ended up winning the Grey Cup that year.
1-6. They were 0-5, then also 1-6. It's not like they just rattled off 3 in a row to get back to 3-5 either. Like
9-team league, some things like I don't want to give false hope to Edmonton and tell people, hey, don't worry, Grey Cup hope.
What Huss is saying right now is sprinkle the Elks right now. That's what he's saying.
100-1. 100-1.
Stranger things have happened.
The black cloud of Chris Jones might just move out of Edmonton, and we'll have a double rainbow for the next 13 weeks of the season, and then they roll in the playoffs.
As somebody pointed out today, a coaching change in this market led to damn near a championship run this year.
It's a great point.
So there you go. You never know. You never know what happens on that front. Hey, Derby last night. How about that anthem singer? Did you see her?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. And listen, I don't want to make too many jokes, which I've been doing for the last however long since it happened. But Ingrid Andress, who I was not familiar with before.
Yeah.
She was the one that did it.
I'm still not familiar with her. I haven't looked her up.
No, but we'll never forget her.
Yeah, that's true.
But she just tweeted this out.
Uh-oh.
I'm not going to bullshit, y'all. I was drunk last night. I'm checking myself into a facility today to get the help I need.
What?
That was not me last night. I apologize to MLB, all the fans in this country I love so much for that rendition. I'll let y'all know how rehab is. I hear it's super fun. XO Ingrid. So
she owned it. I'll give her credit. She owned it.
Yeah. I mean, she's owned it and she's going to get help or whatever. So again, I was not familiar with her, but she's been nominated for 4 Grammys.
Yeah.
So that's what doesn't really compute how
my knowledge of the Grammy game is non-existent apparently, because I still never heard of her. So I don't know what she would have been nominated for.
But there's Grammys in so many things. I mean, she's a country singer. So I mean, I don't know how much.
But I like country music. I still haven't heard from her. Yeah.
Yeah, but your guys are doing like pop country from the mid '90s when you guys are doing that. Like,
oh yeah, I mean, yeah, on the achy breaky, you're right. Yeah, that's true. But you know, it does make sense because this morning on the air, I said she looked like she was out of it the whole time, like just the way she was, like with her face moving and stuff. So she obviously got into it a little bit too much and put together a memorable performance.
I won't pile on at this point. Yeah. I won't pile on at this point. It was a brutal anthem. You know, we were thinking about Roseanne doing the crotch grab and the spitting and Fergie, which maybe took them off the hot seat a little bit. But yeah, so listen, I'll wish Ingrid Andress well in the trip to rehab. And you know what we all love? A great redemption story. So I'll tell you what. She goes, cleans herself up, and she's obviously very talented to get that gig in the first place.
Are you going to predict World Series? Are you going to predict World Series?
Well, no, but I am going to predict that put it this way. Everyone knows who she is now, and far more than before. So I think it does set the table for a pretty good redemption story. And maybe at some point, if she gets everything back on track, she can come back to another MLB event or something else, sing a great version of the anthem, and do it. And again, I don't want to get too much into what happened on Saturday and just the political climate in both countries right now. But it was a disastrous time for that to happen. I mean, when you think about Major League Baseball's All-Star festivities 48 hours after there was an assassination attempt on a presidential candidate and former president, to have the anthem be botched that way, very, very unfortunate. I think there was the potential for that to be a really great moment, and it ended up being a complete disaster. But certainly people were talking about it, and I guess we'll probably quiet down on the jokes.
We took a look at the presidential odds yesterday. Did I ever tell you my presidential backfire bet I was so close on? Did I tell you that story?
No.
Do you know that one? So when I was working in Fort Mac 15, 16 years ago, is when Barack Obama became president. I had a parlay at the time with the sports book I was using. That was the total length of his inauguration speech and his opening phrase. It was parlayed. It was a good ticket. I was like, my God, I'm going to hit this thing. In the end, I think I picked somewhere between like 18 and 22 minutes or 20 and 24 minutes. And I hit on the length, but I missed on his opening comment. I thought for sure Obama was going to roll in and drop a "change has come to America." And he didn't. I can't remember what he started with, but I'm sitting there. I was working at the radio station. I'm in the newsroom watching it on TV. I'm like, come on, give me a "change has come to America." And then he does it, and I'm like, damn it. And then I hit the length, and I was like, oh, I would have cashed this thing if he would have just started with "change has come to America." But he totally let me down. I haven't bet on politics since.
Well, I have maybe my biggest regret betting comes from the 2020 election. And I will never forget this as long as I live, because it was election day and something had happened. My car was out of action for a little bit. And we were still at, I had just, I think, come back to TSN. So I was getting back, I was able to work, but whatever, I wasn't driving. So I was taking the bus. And, it's not far, but I just go down one street, a quick change, and up the other one. So it was like about a 20-minute race. So my show went until 6. I screwed around for a bit. So this is like 6:30 to 7 that I'm coming back. And this is at a point where the results are already coming in. And I'm on Coolbet, and I'm looking at the odds. And even as Trump is winning all of these states, it just seemed like, well, there's no way, like he's not winning, like as if. He was 7-1 plus 700, even in the face of all of this stuff that was happening. And I stupidly thought, like, well, they know better.
Too big a dog. There's no way.
Why would I do it? And then about 20 minutes later, it was plus 300. Then it was plus 185. And then like an hour later, it's like minus 140. And far before anyone on the television is telling you what's really happening, you see what the betting lines are happening, and that's where you really know. And that's why, I mean, coming out of the weekend with him being even more of a massive favorite, I mean, I guess things can change, but it sort of does feel like everything that happened on Saturday pretty much never mind everything that's happening on the other side with whether they're going to have the sitting president be the candidate or whatnot. I don't know whether there's going to be a lot of drama in this one right now, but we can talk about election odds today right now, because the only thing really to get to is the All-Star.
Do you like the over or the under? Where are you at? 7.5.
The under. Under. I mean,
me too.
Pitching. I think Sobkirk had a great mention in chat earlier on. Let me find this one. Yeah, MLB run total under 7.5 runs. Pitching has simply dominated the All-Star game, with 6 of the last 7 games falling under this total, including 4 straight. Like, the bottom line is these pitchers are so damn good. They're only going out there usually to hit the 3 batters. 7.5 is a big number. I mean, it's going to be 2-1. It'll be 3-1, 3-2, something like that. And that's why the under is juiced to -1. The juice to minus 125. You can bet players to hit homers at pretty big numbers. I see Judge is at +150. Where's Bobby Witt?
Man, your boy took a good run at it last night, Huss.
Oh, dude, that was
heartbreaking finish. I mean, I'd still like them to bring back Berman, but that's I mean, that was a great finish.
And all Jay, what did I say? Watch for Jays fans. Teoscar Hernandez is going to go win the home run derby, and he damn well if he didn't do it. I was just choked because I mean, I got on Ramirez at 16-1 as well, and the way things worked out, there was a tie in the first round. And unfortunately, it was Witt and Ramirez going head-to-head against each other in the semi. Bobby won. But, I mean, I was hoping that there'd be the potential that they both win, and you're basically looking at the two guys you bet going head-to-head.
Hey, we did cash a swing-off, +275.
I was just about to say, I always tweeted that. The swing-off came through, and I didn't check the total because I didn't bet it, but I would imagine the total came under the 269.5.
Yeah, I think it would have, because it was pretty low in the semis. Yeah. No, probably cashed, I would think. Man, but you never know. I think a couple of years ago, they got it by like one home run. Like they almost picked it perfectly. So I have to do the math on that one.
Vladdy homer tonight, 7-1. Well, speaking of former Jay, you know what? Let's go. Here's the former Jays narrative. Teoscar wins the Derby. How about Marcus Semien going yard in the All-Star game at 9-1? Can maybe get behind that.
Like right now, over on Coolbet, you can get they've got a bunch of updated futures. I saw Jake mention this earlier for Major League Baseball, and there's the to make playoffs yes or no bets. The Jays aren't even on there. They're not even on the to make playoffs yes or no option. There's like, how many teams are there? Like 14? Jays aren't even in it.
Is that a mistake?
I don't know. I mean, let's see where they are compared to all these other teams that are on the list. Let me just take a peek because I changed my passcode.
Texas, defending World Series champ. Texas 5-1 to make the playoffs.
Bringing up current standings here, and let's just take a look. Okay, so let's see. The Royals are on there.
Yeah,
they're 52 and 45. Are the Tigers on there? Nope, Tigers aren't on there. The Rangers are on there, but the Angels and the A's are not. Yeah, so like the Blue Jays have been relegated to with the Angels, the A's, the White Sox, the Tigers. Tampa Bay's not on there, are they? No, the Rays aren't on there. They're 500. Basically, teams that are below 500 aren't on there. Texas Rangers are below 500, but they're on there. But you mentioned defending champs. So, I mean, that's just the type of season the Jays have had. You can't even get them on that board right now.
That is... I'm sitting here looking at this. So what do we got? They played 96 games, so they've got 66 games remaining. And to cash the over for the season total, one of my worst bets of the year.
I was on the under on that one. Remember that day? I was just so sad and bitter, but
they have to go 43-17 to hit the over. And that only gets them to 87 wins, which probably just gets them in a playoff spot. So, yeah, no kidding. And listen, my worst take of the year, I will own it right now. There's no way with all the talent the Jays can be as bad offensively this season as they were last year. That was a perfect storm. No. They're worse.
Oh, yeah. Undoubtedly.
Because they've got great pitching. That's the thing that's just, I mean, big-time Jays fans watching this team right now have to be sitting there going, well, I mean.
It was arrow up. It was arrow up for quite a few years, and then all of a sudden it's just, they didn't even get to like a shot. It just was like, boom, back down here. Like,
yeah, The Jays props on Coolbet are going to be who gets traded over the next little
Well,
bit.
and they should be up. You're right. That's a real good point. I saw an article today saying they're only going to trade their rentals because they think they can compete next year. And I'm like, oh, here we go again. Let's see how this sorts itself out. So what's coming up on Winnipeg Sports Talk, Huss?
Well, I'm going to get ready for tomorrow's lock shop and our picks. I've got a big brain golf guy coming on, the model maniac, Byron Lindeque, coming up at the end of the show today. So I'm going to be trying to source some tremendous information
for tomorrow's
show.
Good news
for the lock shoppers. Mike McIntyre is going to come on. Billy Hanel is signed. We'll talk a little Jets off season. And the Turtle Man himself, one Milton Stiegel.
Ooh.
So
hashtag paper plates.
We'll talk about the Bombers. Does anyone know what that means?
No, I thought you might know what it means. I don't know what it means. I don't know why he always hashtags everything. Really?
He won't say it. Like, you know how many times he's been asked? He just will not. He just, for some reason, hashtags paper plates on all of his tweets. And when people say, Milt, what the hell does paper plates mean? Can't tell you.
Yeah, every single tweet. Huh. I don't know. I thought maybe you'd know. That's why I brought it up. Oh, well. That'll be a good show for you today, then.
I have theories, but there's only one guy that knows, and he says he's never going to tell us. He said there's only one person else out there that knows what it means. The mysterious Milt Stiegel coming up today on WSB as well. But yes, the under is the play tonight in the All-Star game. And listen, I've got some time for the National League at even money. I mean, as far as I know, the ALs sort of had their way. But if it's a single bet, it's under 7.5 at -125. I'd love for it to go over and see a bunch of homers and bombs and stuff like that. But and I will be following my own advice on the former Jays narrative. I will be making a wager at Marcus Semien to go yard at 9-1.
Oh, that is going to do it for the Lock Shop today. Winnipeg Sports Talk coming up right away here. And I got two guys in the goalie presented by GS Construction on the way as well. That'll do it for the Lock Shop today, presented by our great partners over at Coolbet. If you haven't signed up yet, coolbet.com. Use the code LOCKSHOP when you do, all one word. You get 100% deposit bonus on your initial deposit up to $200. Huss, we will talk to you tomorrow on the Lock Shop, buddy.
Yeah, get that Xbox for LTE. Let them know what we've determined. And if you are getting college football, you can add me on Xbox at Hustlerama, just like my ex and Instagram.
See you, buddy. There you go.